Here I thought I would show you every math class I ever took up to this point. And the reason I'm making this video is because I'm trying to decide what to take in fall semester of next year. So I'll get to that point later, but I thought I would just go ahead and make the list right now so that you can see just what math journey I was on. I think I've talked about this in an older video, but I didn't really go into high detail there. So I guess technically if we want to start with college credit courses, I don't want to talk about the stuff I did so far back. Like, I'm not going to go back to the 4th grade or anything. But the first class that I took that had college credit on it was Advanced Mathematics. That's what it was called. And this class is not very advanced despite the name. All it really was trigonometry. We did other things, but it was mostly the trig functions. They told us about sine and cosine, and I mean, we did talk about those functions in geometry in 9th grade, SOHCAHTOA and that type of stuff. But this was the first class where we really started to graph them and study their properties like phase shift and 2-pi periodic. We probably talked a little bit about even and odd functions, maybe a little bit. I'm not really sure. But that was a year-long class, and then the next course I took was the next year I took in the fall semester. Can't even spell calculus. How terrible. Calculus. 1, 2, and 3. So I took that all in 1 year. So this was fall semester, and then the spring semester of the following year, and then this summer. And then at the time that this class was being offered, Calculus 2, they had run the elementary linear algebra course at the community college that I was at, and I wanted to take it, but I had so many classes that semester, there was no way I was going to be able to take it, and I needed to take those other classes. So unfortunately for me, I didn't get to take elementary that semester, but I really wanted to. And then during this semester, I took ODE, Ordinary Differential Equations. So that summer, I took these 2 classes, and they were back-to-back. I'm trying to remember which one came first. Because we did one in the morning, and then we had a lunch break, and then we reconvened to do the other one. And I don't really remember which one it was. I feel like Calc 3 came first, but not that it really matters which one came first. So that was that year. And then the year after that, I took elementary linear algebra as an independent study, which means that he gives me a book and says, okay, here, you read it, and then I'm going to give you a test over it. And I really was not familiar with how independent studies worked at the time. I probably wasn't ready to do something like that. I did fine in the course, but it wasn't really good for me to take that type of course as an independent study, looking back now. And also as an independent study, I took math proofs, which depending upon your university, it might be called Foundations of Mathematics, Logic and Set Theory. I don't really know what they call it, but we called it math proofs. And I took this at the same community college here, so I took that the next year, although I think I took it in the summer. I feel like I took it in a summer or maybe a spring. Actually, I think it was a spring semester and it wasn't summer. Again, this is way back there. This is hard for me to remember. But I think I took this in a spring semester. I think this was 2015. Let me try and put some years on this. This was definitely 2015. This was 2014. And I guess this was 2013. Somewhere in there. And then I transferred to a university, and I ended up taking I signed up for 3 classes. I signed up for real variables, complex variables. This is all fall semester, by the way. And applied math. And I went 1 week realized that I couldn't do any of these classes and dropped them all. So I dropped all of them, and then I replaced it with one class, which was math proofs, again. And the reason for that is because I took this math proofs, and I did well in it, but it was an independent study, so I didn't really think I learned that much. And I decided, okay, it's probably a good idea for me to go through the course again, not as an independent study. So that's why I ended up taking this class. So I took this in the fall of 2015. This was spring of 2015. So this is fall 2015. And then the next semester, I signed up for 2 classes. So this is where things kind of get confusing. I took advanced linear algebra. And I took math modeling. Okay, so this is spring semester 2016, these 2 classes. And they were both taught by the same guy. And that guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he had a reputation at that university as being the absolute worst instructor on planet Earth. And I read his, what's the website called? Rate My Professor. I read his Rate My Professor reviews, and they were all terrible. It was ruthless. It was so bad. And after about 6 weeks, I ended up dropping both of these courses. I dropped one first and then the other. I can't remember which one I dropped. I feel like it was this one. I dropped it first, and then I dropped this one. And then I also took, at the same time, I took a class called Discrete Structures. And this class was like this class, but like the baby version. So this was the third. I like to say that I took math proofs 4 times, because this one was math proofs, this one was university level math proofs, and then this one was like the baby version of this one. This one was more geared toward computer scientists, because I was thinking about going into computer science at the time. So I took it, even though it was kind of below me at that point. But I decided to take it anyway. And so this was like a very rough first year at university. So this again is still 2015, 2016. So I'll put over here at the side fall 15, spring 16. And then the next year, hold on, does this make sense? Yeah, that had to have been spring 2016. And then I don't remember what I did that summer. I feel like I took something, but I can't remember what it was. But then the next year I TA'd for this course. So I was a TA for discrete structures. So I'll put discrete structures again, because I was more or less teaching it. And that's the 4th time I took math proofs. Because that was when I really started to learn how math proofs was working. And around this time, however, I had switched majors, because these 2 classes, because I had this rough experience here, and then I just took this that semester, so this really supplemented this. So I went through math proofs again, and then the next semester I took these 2 and just floundered. And then I dropped it, and then I decided, okay, maybe mathematics is not for me. Because I mentioned this before, I did not major in mathematics. I decided to switch majors and study environmental science. So from here on down, from 2016 to 2017 was no math classes, except for one. I took one class that had math in it, and it was just called geometry. Oh, was it 2016 or 2017 I took it? It doesn't really matter. So I'll put, I'm going to put fall 2016. I took that geometry course. I took it because I only needed one more credit, or one more class, to get a mathematics minor, because I took all those classes. So I was like, okay, I'll get a minor in math. So I took geometry, and And then I took a plethora of environmental science courses to get my degree. And then when I did get my degree and I graduated, I decided I wasn't really interested in environmental science, and I had friends that had, been in mathematics. And I was like, okay, I really want to get a degree or some sort of degree in math, so I decided to apply for a master's program in math. Now, before I entered the program, hold my camera steady, I took another course in advanced linear algebra. And this was spring. Eraser shavings. Spring of 2018. So you can see there's a gap here. That's because I wasn't a math major. And I was a non-degree seeking student at the time. So it was, I took the undergraduate level version, although there were grad students in the class taking it at the graduate level. So it was the same material as a grad school level. And that class kind of whooped me a little bit, but I fought tooth and nail to, get up to speed. And I ultimately got an A in the class, but I worked really, really hard because they were using stuff that I had not seen before that other math majors have seen. Because there's a sequence that I would recommend taking before this class so that you know what you're doing. So that leads me into fall of 2018. That was my first year as a graduate student. I took modern algebra 1 and 2, and I also took real variables 1 and 2. And this was the fall 2018, spring 2019 year. I took both of those. And at some point I took a class in coding theory. And I'm trying to think if it was this year or if it was the year after. And I'm pretty sure it was actually this year. So I think it would go down here. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. Coding theory. And I put it over here because it's kind of in the realm of algebra more so. And it was also taught by the same woman that taught these two classes. So she taught these three, and then my thesis advisor taught these two. He would become my thesis advisor. So that was that year. And then the year after that, I took abstract algebra. 1 and 2. And I took graduate level, because these classes were really undergraduate level. There were undergrads in the classroom. It's just some of us grad students had to sit through them again. Same story with coding theory. These were all undergrad level courses that I was given graduate level credit for. So that was that. And then this year, down here, was when I started getting like real graduate level experience. So I took graduate level algebra, graduate level real analysis. I should probably put 1 and 2. And then that was fall 19, spring 20. And then I'll put thesis down here because I wrote a thesis that year. So I'm going to count it because I did actually end up getting, obviously, when you do a thesis, you speak with your department and they have to create a course that you register for so that you get credit for writing the thesis at the university. So technically it's a class on paper. And that was my last year of the master's program. And as you may remember, in spring of 2020, there was a certain pandemic that happened that year. So everything was normal up until March of 2020. And then things got weird. And then because, the whole country essentially shut down. That was a scary day, by the way. Like day one, I don't know how many of you remember day one of the pandemic. But I remember I was just in my my house, my condo, and I was in the mood for a pizza, I guess. And I was going to go to the grocery store and buy a frozen pizza. So I got in my car, I drove to the grocery store. It was the afternoon. I'm not entirely sure what time it was. But I remember I went to the grocery store, and it was just freaking packed to the gills. There were so many people at that grocery store because this was day one. They said, okay, we're shutting the whole country down on the news. And everyone and their mother went to the grocery store to buy food. And I looked around, and it was shoulder to shoulder. I was like, oh my God, this is serious. Because I remember, I don't want to talk about the pandemic too much, obviously. But, and it's also, I don't know, it's not really a laughing matter, I guess. But it was kind of weird, like seeing the events leading up to it. People are like, oh, it's like Ebola virus from 6 years ago, or whenever Ebola virus was in the news. Or at least that was my attitude toward it. I wasn't really worried about it. And then, just the panic that happened that semester was just, it was like, oh no, this is actually pretty serious. They're shutting things down. So that was I was like, okay, we got to take this seriously. But anyway, as a tangent, I don't want to talk about things like that. I feel like enough time has passed where we can talk about it, but I mean, let's stick with the math. I mean, we're on a math channel after all. But anyway, but it did affect me because, I guess I can say this much, because when I was writing my thesis, the pandemic happened, and they were like, okay, we have to make everything online. So this class and this class had to be taught remotely, and they gave us notes over the internet, and we had to take tests online remotely, and I had to defend my thesis remotely. I remember I gave my thesis defense via a computer screen, which I was kind of looking forward to, standing up in the room and delivering it, and then walking down that aisle to, receive my my master's degree, because when you graduate, you walk down the aisle, you get your master's degree, and everything's fun. But I didn't end up getting to do that because we had to do it all remotely. They just mailed me my master's degree. So I felt a little bit disappointed that I didn't get to experience that, but whatever. It is what it is. I wasn't going to cry too much about it. And then I taught college algebra at a community college from 2020 to 2021. So I worked at a community college and I taught that. And then this year, fall of 21, I started the PhD program, and I took real analysis 1 and 2, and I took abstract algebra 1 and 2. And I also took complex analysis 1. So these together were fall 21 and spring 22. I took those 3 classes. There's also another one, but I'm not going to count it. It was more of a college teaching course. It was a class on how to teach mathematics. We didn't actually learn mathematics, so I'm not going to include it. So that was my first year. And then in the summer, which I should put the summer classes here. So I'll put SU 22 to include them that year. Oh, I don't even remember what they were called. They were enrichment courses. So they were, I think one was called Lie Algebras. And another one was called, it was basically a partial differential equations course. So I'll put PDEs. My only PDE course was an enrichment course. But these 2 were offered in the summer. This one came first, and then when it finished, we did Lie Algebras. And then Real 1 and Abstract 1 were fall, and then Real 2 and Abstract 2 were spring. And then complex was taught in the spring as well. So there was 3 courses there. Anyway, so that was the very first year of the PhD program. So I'm going to box this in. My second year, which is what I am in now. Man, this video went a lot longer than anticipated. I'm sorry. So what did I take? I forget. I took potential theory. I took complex analysis 2, the sequel to this guy. And I took a third one, probability theory. Probability theory 1. So this was fall semester 22. And then I took a class in convex geometry. Oh, what am I taking this semester? I should know. Analytic number theory. I always forget what classes I take. How sad. And obviously probability theory. And then in the summer, there's 2 enrichment courses. Oh, I don't even know what they're called. One's like a calculus course. I think it's something, it has calculus in the name of it. It's obviously not calculus. It just kind of feels like we've gone full circle, right? But it's some sort of multivariable calculus class. And the other one is some kind of geometry, I think. I don't remember what the name of it is. I registered for it, and then I had to deregister for it because there was a problem with it. They had to go in and change something, so I didn't look that closely. Anyway, so let's wrap this up. So this was fall 22, spring 23. This will be my summer of 23. And now I need to figure out what I'm going to take next year. So I'm going to show you what I'm thinking. I'm still in analysis, so there's another convex geometry course, different from the one that I'm taking. It's offered in the fall, so I'm going to take it. And then there's an intro to Fourier analysis that I'm going to take. And then there's a seminar. This is the light version of what I want to take. These 2 are given. This one I'm on the fence with. I feel like I definitely need to go to those seminars. But I either don't sign up for it and go anyway and don't get credit, but I still go because you need to go. Or I sign up for it and get credit for it and forced to go. But then there's like another class that I kind of want to take called statistics. And I'm just now realizing I took an elementary stats course that I forgot to mention. But for brevity's sake, I don't know if I want to take this stats course or not, because this might be a bit too much for me, and I want to start research as soon as possible and get this PhD over with. And I say that like I'm in a rush, and I guess to some extent I'm in a rush, but it's really more like, okay, I've come here to get a PhD. I want to start working on it right now. And if I take this stats course, it might be difficult for me to, set aside time to do research. So I'm going to have to make a decision how I'm going to juggle this. Okay, so where was that other class I forgot to mention? Because this list is supposed to be all-inclusive. It was somewhere in here. It was actually during this semester, so I'm going to erase the geometry, because now I'm thinking about it. I don't think I took geometry that year. I think this was elementary stats. But I did take geometry, and I think I took it in the fall of 2017. It was a fall semester. It's just the timeline here is a bit sketchy because, you know, I wasn't taking a lot of math classes at the time. But yeah, there it is. There's my life for the past 10 years. Man, that was a lot of math. And I feel like I still don't know much. That's the sad part. But anyway, let me know what you think of this list or whatever comments you want to leave about your experience. I'll be sure to read them. I'm interested in hearing about other people's journeys in mathematics. And thank you for watching.